welcome those on the line that are watching tonight, and I hope you feel a part of the service also. Just as a way of introduction, we will go through the program as usual, and then we will stop at the end of the program and go into our 10 minutes of silent meditation. And at the end, Jack has chimes to end 10 minutes, so you can relax and really breathe into your prayers and be comforted to know that you will know when the ending of that time is. And then we'll go into the time of reflecting and a prayer, going into the time of bringing other people that have asked for prayers into our service. And we will read their names and light a candle for them that have asked for prayer tonight. So let us begin now. And as a way of introduction, I'll tell you about our program tonight. Our pastor, as you know, Nicole Kelly, has spent some time now in her sabbatical, where she went back to Ireland to begin to study some of the beliefs that are Christian but have been very unique to that part of the world. And she went particularly deeper into Celtic Christianity, which is an early form of Christianity that flourished in Ireland beginning around 491, when missionaries from Rome and beyond used to go there. Ireland learned and converted to Christianity from their Irish culture also came into play that enriched their deep Christian faith. Tonight I'd like to reflect on some of their Christian faith, their insights, their prayer practices, and expressions of faith, beginning with the Celtic prayer. As you remember, when Nicole left, she left us with a Celtic prayer, and this is the one she left. It was so beautiful. I thought that we would begin with that tonight. It reads, "O God, you are the love of each living creature. You are the warmth of the rising sun. You are the whiteness of the moon this night. You are the life of the growing earth and the changing of the seasons. You are the strength of the waves of the sea. Speak to us this night, O God. Speak to us your truth. Dwell with us this night of God. O God." Amen. Celtic Christianity did differ slightly from the Roman experience of Christianity, mainly because the Celtic culture was a very agrarian culture as opposed to the Roman one. They were deeply connected to nature and the earth. It was there that the Celts saw most clearly God's gift and care, such as forests providing their stoves, crops grown from the soil, land for their farm animals, as well as the materials to make their homes with. Nature for them was a constant inspiration, as they saw it as the hiding place of God. They sometimes identified places in certain locations as thin spaces, where the veil between heaven and earth seemed especially permeable to them. Often there were locations in their area with high views and dramatic vistas of roaring oceans below. These places were believed to be particularly sacred, Some Christians today are beginning to look back at this form of Christianity for insights in order to bring new appreciation of the sacredness of the natural world into our awareness. Celtic Christianity, then, is often characterized by the following: a genuine love of nature and a passion for God's creation, along with a sense of closeness between the natural world and the spirit world, a love of the beauty of art and poetry, the inclusion and appreciation of solitude in sacred places, seeing few boundaries between the sacred and the spiritual in everyday life, spontaneous prayer throughout the workday, an emphasis on family and kinship, and inclusion of women in the leadership of their communities. To see how deeply integrated the Celtic faith was to their everyday life, many records remain of these prayers. Hear now one such prayer from this time, offered by a woman or wife, as she starts her day fanning the banked coals into flame for healing and cooking breakfast. She might say a prayer like this: I will kindle my fire this morning in the presence of the holy angels of heaven, with the flame of love for my neighbor, to my foe, to my friends, and to my kindred all, to the brave and to the knave, to the thrall, O Son of the loveliest Son of Mary, to the lowliest thing that liveth, to the name that is highest of all. As the day went on, she would offer more prayers to her plantings as well as her milking hour. Nothing was too menial for her to offer a prayer for. Another prayer: Come, Mary, and milk my cow with me. Come, encompass her as I twine my arms around her calf and help her stand. Come again, great bride, the beauteous, O come thou, milkmaid of Jesus Christ, and place thine arms beneath my cow. In addition to bringing the everyday into their daily prayers, the Celts viewed the earth as deeply sacred and gave particular attention to certain places. In the Celtic imagination and experience, there were places where the veil between the earth and heaven seemed especially permeable. Here the two worlds came discernibly close, so they called them thin spaces. Recently, I read a book titled Braving the Thin Spaces, Celtic Wisdom to Create a Space for Grace, in which the author maintains that thin spaces exist not only out in nature, but within each of us. Each of us often stand at the threshold of our own pain and turbulence, like the ancient Celts might have stood on the edge of a precipice and looked down at the crashing sea below. But when we quiet down in contemplative prayer and breathe in the sacred breath, asking for nothing and expecting nothing, we too are in a thin space. Not blaming, explaining, or asking, just hanging in that sacred space with just our breath. It is indeed a thin space, and it's often filled with jagged rocks, the roaring seas of our emotions, painful places, and we often want to revert back to the comfort of words in order to ask, defend, or rationalize, or explain to God why we're that way, how we feel that way. Now struggling with the howling, fierce winds of our lives and inner turmoil challenges us in faith to go into that thin space where God dwells, forever loving and caring, even in our distress and brokenness. So as we go into that quiet time now for 10 minutes, think about breathing in and breathing out, and be aware of your emotions, even if they're hard, even if they're painful, to realize that in that thin space, God definitely comes in on the breath and comfort us. Our usual way of reading names at this point is to go around the circle, but thinking about, I asked Christy, can our beloveds out there hear their names read? And she said, not so much, because everybody's not mic'd. So I said, I think it would be very meaningful then for them and us to be sure that they hear their names read and how dear and beloved they are to us. And we are definitely holding them up this evening to prayer. So Doris and I are going to take that time to read their prayers and light a candle for them. The prayers. Lord, you know the need of these that we hold up in prayer this evening for your healing, remembering your passion on earth was healing and restoring the sick, the lame, and those suffering in mind and spirit. We ask now for your healing light on them that they might be restored to health and wholeness. Keep us all in your care, that we may be of loving service to your kingdom. So now we light candles for our beloveds who aren't able to be here this evening, that are sick and struggling. Joyce Anderson, Gil Stagnero, Christopher Irwin, Kim Volkit, Pastor Lisa Bernheiser, Diane Ross, Ace Hamilton, Caroline Vance, Genevieve Jolett, and Brenda Wylich and family. Lord, hear our prayer tonight for these beloveds that struggle. Bring them to full healing by your love and your mighty strength. Amen. We now invite all of you all to come forward and say your prayers for your intentions. Before we dismiss in the final blessing, I'd like to know, first of all, if anybody in this room is Irish or have Irish in their family or tradition. You do, Sharon? Yeah. And you do? Yes. After studying this, I was just again impressed on how strong the Irish influence has been with their writings, with their songs. I mean, for a little country, they've had a very outsized influence on so much of, the world, and their songs and their liturgies and their traditions. I mean, everybody knows the Irish. Right, Sharon? Yes, yes. So I was thinking that tonight as we go into the final blessing, and which I could have chosen 2 or 3 or 4 that we know well. I'm like, what? And all of those things. So it's really been a wonderful journey reading the book and thinking about how even early on the Celts made a tradition or created a tradition that was not like the, but was very unique to them. So as we go into the final blessing, like I said, I could have chosen 2 or 3, and of course you know them. And this is the one that I did choose, was attributed to St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland. So let us reflect on all of these things as we go into the final blessing. This attributed to St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland. Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ on my left, Christ on my right, Christ when I lay down at night, Christ when I arise, Christ in the heart of everyone who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of me, Christ in everyone that sees. And now, of course, the final one, which everybody knows and is so beloved. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Amen. Amen. Stay and pray if you can, and don't have to leave immediately. In the beauty of this evening. Amen.